Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the Irish Hotspur, here to deliver you your Twitter reacts after probably the worst defeat that I think we've maybe felt this season so far. I must say, I put it out there on the YouTube community section if you guys haven't seen already. I actually felt like this defeat was worse than the likes of Sporting, worse than the likes of Man United. Almost even dared I compare it to probably the likes of the North London Derby. It seriously is probably the lowest point we felt this season. I'm almost kind of glad or thankful that we are approaching this World Cup break, not only to sort of recuperate as fans, but also for Antonio Conte and some of these players to recuperate, I must say. But ultimately, big kind of coming out for maybe certain players, you could say, when, you know, with our assessment of them, our defense of them, how we sort of maybe judge these, you know, Spurs players and whatnot. It feels like, you know, kind of the gloves are off to a degree. And we kind of just have to look at ourselves and just look at the squad, including even Antonio Conte, and just get to the bottom of exactly what is going wrong. And I imagine, Dave, a lot of people have various ideas about where we go about fixing these issues first. But today's here is, you know, today the purpose is to get people's voice heard via the Twitter and as well as through the community section. But how you doing today, my man?
Yeah, I'm good, my man. I had a good afternoon out with the missus, to be honest with you. That's why we're running a bit late today. It's my fault. I do apologise. Just to kind of get over last night, to be honest with you, I was very down in the dumps this morning about it. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at any of the comments whatsoever. I just had this night, went to bed, slept it off. So I'll be interested to see what people have to say, because usually I'll have a sneak peek, but I haven't. So I'll be interested to see what the general reaction is last night, where the blame lies. Does it rely on the usual suspects who have cost us in games like this before, or does it rely on the management? So let's see where people portion the blame.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm at the point, Jack. I'm at the point. It can't be both. It just can't be that, because I've seen it around us. Some people might say, "Oh well, you've got to blame both." I mean, I just don't. I don't blame any manager that walks in here and has to form a back line out of them donkeys.
You'd rather just see the back line be scrapped, and then once the back line is scrapped, it's almost, I think, gloves off, you know, for Conte then, and then you can judge him, I think, as well. That's how I stand. But I think still, though, I'm starting to feel like we are reaching that stage, though, where everybody is obviously accountable and everybody has to share a bit of the blame. And I'm going to be interested to see as to, you know, what people think Conte could have done differently. Because me personally, Davo, I don't think he's completely exempt. I certainly think Spence can be given a go earlier in the season, probably could have helped us out in maybe certain games. I think he's gotten that one wrong. The likes of Hill Messi, I think, probably could have been given maybe a chance to start maybe more recently, could have helped us out maybe in a game or two and could have been given a chance. But again, I feel like I'm always sort of criticizing the nitpicky things of maybe Conte. And I feel like if for me personally, I don't think these sort of nitpicky things that at least I'm sort of criticizing him for are deserving of a sack or deserving of, being, moved from the club. If I'm going to criticize him over, I think I'm happy to criticize him over his use of Spence. It doesn't mean I'm going to sack him over it, though, sort of situation. That just feels unfair.
Here's the thing, the reason why I'm just not blaming Conte is because everything I'm seeing now, I've seen under Jose Mourinho. And, you know, I got absolutely pelters under Jose Mourinho for backing the guy and bringing up the quality of the squad. Everyone said, no, someone else will come in and get better. And it just hasn't happened. And we're still relying on the same backline. So that's where I'm at. I'm just refusing to blame a manager when he's still got certain donkeys to pick from that I've highlighted 2-3 years ago under Jose Mourinho. So I just kind of like, I'm just not doing it. I'm not going down that route yet again. In fact, I'm going to be even more defiant than ever until I see something where I'd say, yeah, okay, that is on Conte. I get the Dylan Spence thing, right? And for me, I would like him to use them. I think it would make sense. Rather than persist with the same donkeys, it would make sense for us to use these guys and give them minutes. But you've also got to understand, Gil isn't a Conte signing, and neither was Spence. Yeah. So we're asking them to use two guys that want signings now. But I do agree with you. I do think maybe he could have given them minutes, and that maybe they could give him a bit of food for thought and give him extra options. But
It's
it
more to
is what
me.
it
It's
is.
more me explaining when I kind of give those examples, Dave. It's more me kind of explaining that I don't think he's,
Mm,
the God. I don't think he's a Messiah. You think he's a
yeah,
Messiah with how he's going to change Tottenham Hotspur, that's for sure. But I don't think he's infallible. Is really, in all
yeah,
seriousness, I don't think he's infallible. And so a good example of where maybe I think he's maybe gotten something wrong would be right a Spence situation, a Hill
mm,
Messi
mm,
situation. But where I stand on that, Dave, is that I'm fully welcome to criticize him for that, and fully welcome to say, listen, we might have probably dropped points, in fact, maybe because of maybe him
mm,
getting that wrong in certain games or whatnot. But it's not something I'm going to sack a manager for, because I
yeah,
just think that's brutally unfair to someone, if
yeah,
not even if not even insulting, if not even insulting. Tony Buttigieg in
yeah.
the house. Don't want to even hear the word Spurs. Please, someone delete it from the history of football. You're going to have to hear it one more time against the likes of the Leeds, Tony, and then you can have a good, nice long break. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe you're England, USA. Let me know, Tony. You know where you're at. Because Buttigieg is actually a common name over here in the USA. So let me know, Tony. World Cup wise, who you can maybe distract yourself with. Big up, brother. Frank Glass is in the house. Morning all from New Zealand. Been a Spurs supporter for many years, and I will be till I die. Seen the good and the bad, so I pick myself up from the dust myself up, and go again. Big up, Frank Glass. Absolute legend. A wise person you are, I would imagine, brother. A very, very wise one.
It's hard. It's hard to
Yeah,
do that. It really is right now.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still fuming, lad.
yeah. Sue Smith is in the house. Big up, Sue Smith. Good to see you in here, and always really appreciate you supporting. I wrote that in the comments, Sue. That really just no matter the results and everything, Sue. No matter how much Spurs seem to bring you down, you're always in here, and we really do appreciate that.
Mm,
Especially George Hill as well. Said spent the rest of the day yesterday trying to forget that performance and trying to forget about the usual numpties like Darren Sanchez, Doherty, and Cess. Then I wake up to Dyer making the World Cup. Absolute joke, lads. Keep up the great content, though, boys. You guys are the best Spurs content creators out there, and we are still
wow.
Tottenham Hotspur, and we move forward. George, absolutely love you,
Big up,
brother.
Georgie.
Absolutely love you. We absolutely love you. And honestly, your Twitter as well just gives me life. I don't really care, how I don't care if people respond to it poorly, if they think it's too harsh or anything. It's seriously
Yeah.
one of the recent, I forget which one it was. We've had so many shocking results. It might have been Liverpool, I think, George, but I told Dave it just gave me life.
Yeah.
One of your Twitter comments. Big up, Mark. Dyer in England squad. Well, at least Kane will be home early from World Cup. Phil, big up, Dave, Jack, and the Spurs community. Fully believe Conte will get this right with the full backing of Levy and Enoch. But if they don't, then why was Conte even brought in? If Conte leaves, then Levy out. This is starting to kind of become, I think, a common theory, and I sort of feel like it's not a bad one. Where it's like, if Conte really isn't going to be truly and fully backed in a different way than Levy and Enoch have backed other managers. Like if they don't fully invest in Conte in obviously a way that they never have before, then really is what's the point of bringing a guy like Conte? You might as well just bring a guy like Poch, who is sort of fully welcome to maybe work with a smaller budget, work with younger players, not get the top of the line quality in, etc. Be willing to work with a Sanchez or a Dyer and not probably complain as much, even though probably the results would still be the same. I just think that if we're not going to really fully back Conte, if we're not going to really fully invest in Conte, then perhaps there's a true point in that, and that maybe we should just not go for such an elite, high quality manager that does need those sort of players to truly succeed. We might as well
Here's the
then
thing,
just
though,
go with,
Jacko.
might as well just stick with these project managers that will just leave us in the fourth and fifth and sixth, realms of the Premier League, I guess.
But you're still going to see the same shit regardless what manager comes in here with that backline. It doesn't matter.
That's what I
It
mean.
just does not matter. Like
Yeah,
you can get in a project manager. He's not going to get better out of Dyer and Davies and Sanchez and Doherty and Sessio.
yeah.
It's not the way managers speak to them. It's them as a person. They just don't have that inner desire to be a winner or get us to the next level. So you can bring in a project manager. Say, for instance, if Eddie Howe's on the market, Eddie Howe's not going to get better out of these guys. We can sit here and say manager, new manager, all we want. Until this defense changes, you're going to see the same shit. In fact,
Mm.
I'd argue, and many people actually told me this when I was talking about this backline. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but were people not saying Conte got the best out of Dyer since he's been here, the best out of Davies since
Yeah,
he's been here? So
yeah.
then, if he's got the best out of him, how's the answer sacking the guy? I don't get it.
I also don't feel like I feel like the short memory of, him saving our season last season. He saved our season last season, and no one was really complaining about the football when we were playing so brilliantly with absolute draws against Liverpool. No one was complaining when we beat the likes of City. Just feels like, I don't know, it's a bit of short memory, and it's also as well like a sort of reactionary to how dreadful it's been. Believe me, I think Conte's getting things wrong, but at the same time, I'd like to sort of rather just direct my anger more towards the players that have continued to stick around here and have continued to get these managers sacked. But big up, Phil. Good to see the other Phil. The Phil army's getting strong here. Big up, boys. I've been lower than a snake's belly today. Can't wait for my group therapy. You're going to get it there, Phil. Big up, legend. Portal Dreams, fans, players, and management need to get on board. That is going to be a 5-year project to fix if Spurs can stay the course with one manager and style, or it never ends, or we continue to go through the same cycles. Big up, T.O. Good to see you in here. Always in here, T.O. We also have Steve D getting your Twitter comments later. Steve D, don't you worry. And he says, afternoon, everyone. Starting to see some really dumb comments of late because fan base has differing opinions. Pretty sure everyone wants the same thing. Like I'm not sure if you heard my intro there, Steve D, but this is kind of the whole point of this show. It's like kind of regardless of where Dave and I come from, regardless of where, you hear me come from, versus you, Steve, ultimately we all want the same thing. And as you know, on this channel, we do listen to your opinions and we do hear people from different sides. And, we don't just immediately just throw it out the door, kick you out, and don't let you come back. We want people to bring their opinions and we want people to feel comfortable that they can express it here and they're not going to be shouted down and they're not going to be in any way sort of neglected or whatever it is. And as you know, Steve, you bring up your comments and we bring them up here and, we have a good discussion about them. So everybody, I think,
My
hopefully,
nemesis.
hopefully, I think people know that on this channel, at least people know that they can put their opinions in here and that, we'll have a good discussion and everything stays respectful. But big up, Steve.
Big up Stevie D, my arch nemesis. How are you today?
Alpish Patel. Sean is to play well, we should be playing well. No, I don't know what Alpish is saying there. Mark New, big up, guys. Our players looked exhausted. All the other European teams rotated their big players to rest them for the Premier League and Champions League. Our B squad isn't good enough. We need loans in and out in January. A lot of work that needs to be done in January, Mark, especially when it needs to get rid of players. Hi, guys. My stream kept buffering last night, so only caught the last 15 minutes. Should have gone bed to early. I mean, people were
That was our fault. That was on our end. Don't worry about it.
I think some people were also discussing last night that even just the streams that whatever they were using to try to watch the game, were buffering.
Okay.
And some people were kind of making jokes on Twitter, Dave. Like they were like, what's the point? Like, why do you even ask for a stream? No point even watching this. Like, save yourself. People were saying. Maybe, Dave, unless you're talking about our stream again, like we apologize. That hasn't happened before. Big up, Andy Williams. Good to see you in here. There's only one club in this country that has a B team, and there's a difference in the B team and youth players. Phil Coys as well. Daniel Sandoval, one love to all. Back Conte, big up. We got Lee Cooper as well. Big up, lads. Brian Dempsey, all right, guys. I feel like someone has shit on my cornflakes, says Brian Dempsey. Definitely so. It feels like it's been happening a few mornings in a row now, Brian. You need to find the culprit. Ian Ferguson, always good to see you. Absolute legend. Good to see you, Drew Law, as well. Debbie Jones, we are still in the Champions League, fourth in the table, and we have played loads of games in small space of time, plus injuries. Now we have the World Cup. Hopefully, we won't have more injuries after that. Yeah, absolutely right, Debbie. I mean, we've been absolutely plagued and hurt by them. I imagine we'd be in a much better and much happier position if we had had a fit in Kulusevski this whole time. If we had a fit Kulusevski this whole time, I think we'd be in such a better position. Sad that we have to rely on a player so much for us to probably succeed and kind of avoid these horrible results. But sometimes that's just kind of how it is, especially when you're only a year in to kind of a situation like this with Conte. Absolutely right, though, Debbie. Good to see you. Zuki Spur in the house. Squad was never strong enough to challenge on four fronts. I think Conte kind of feels the same way. He just sort of looks relieved that he doesn't even have to play sooner rather than later. When it comes to the World Cup, he gets that extra like 5 days or whatever it is. If I'm not mistaken, Zuki. Legacy, good to see you. Really appreciate you, Daniel Sandoval, Matthew Childers. I just think it's hard to criticize Conte yesterday. We've had a ton of injuries in the front line and a defense that is missing its best player. Also, Sanchez is just playing awful. Pretty sure the entire population might agree with you there. Matthew, well said, my man. Good to see Debbie Jones, Mark, Harry, Adam Phillip. Really appreciate you. Pod God as well. Conte needs to change something. 4-2-3-1 would be a good option, question mark. Our defense is so poor. We have two holding midfielders protecting them back, have some Bentancur and Kulusevski with Kane up front. I'd rather Conte be able to play his type of football that's made him successful to this day. Hot God, believe me, I know that Spurs fans have a strong attachment to the 4-2-3-1 over the years, and I understand why. But I'd rather Conte play the football with the players that he's most comfortable with, so that we can see him, show the style that's made him so successful. I feel like he hasn't really had the opportunity to truly do that yet. And also last season, we saw that beautiful football with the 3-4-3. And I also find it funny that, again, I feel like there were a lot of games when we played absolutely scintillating last season with the 3-4-3 and with the players that we had available. And it's like we've really forgotten about that. And it's like we now call them a fossil football sort of manager, while last season we were demolishing teams at one stage and slapping them about. That's the other part I don't forget. It's not like it's just been dreadful from day one to now, right? It's not been dreadful, dead performances, negative football, fossil football from day one to now. It's never been. That's where I'm also kind of a bit sort of confused with, the reactions.
And you can't switch to a back four with the defense we've got. People underestimate how important a back line is. Just ask Sir Alex Ferguson, ask any manager that wins trophies, ask them how important your back line is. It's what keeps goals out, which then also always gives you an opportunity to go and score a goal, to go and win a game. And defensive is really, really important in football. If you have a bad defense, you will ultimately end up getting bad results. Why do you think teams get relegated? Because they have a shit defense that can't keep goals out. A defense is important. And when I liken, I'm like, oh, it's the same under Jose. What I mean is, it's the same backline. It's the same backline as Jose Mourinho to now. Same backline for under Nuno. Same backline that was top of the league under Jose until October, November. The same players that we're seeing now in this October, November, and the same October, November when Nuno ended up getting sacked, are still informing this backline. So instead of blaming Conte, this, that, and the other, actually look at the patterns of guys that have been here longer than the manager. And look at the patterns. Oh, it's easy. Go on to Transfermarkt, type it, get the year you need to get up, look it up, and you'll see the drop off in these months. It's there. It's there plain to see. We've got to do more digging into it and more research rather than just blaming the manager because he's the front guy and he gets paid to do it.
Yeah. Big up Paul Brown. Really good to see you, my man. As always, come on, you Spurs. Whoever is the manager, absolutely right. Lee Richards, what worried me, guys, is the lack of effort last night. Can never accept players not trying in a Spurs shirt. New Zealand in the World Cup. For me, is that right? Is that the New Zealand flag? Or
not sure what that is.
Not sure
Lee,
what that
put
is.
in the comments. That's not my man.
Maybe he's just not, or maybe he's not even watching the World Cup is maybe what it is. So he's, he doesn't even get any therapy that way. Big up Lee, but appreciate you always tuning in as always. Yeah, maybe boycotting. Yeah. Moni Pete doesn't matter.
Blackout, maybe. That's what the flag could be, a blackout.
Yeah. Moni Pete.
Wales. He says Wales. Sorry.
Moni Pete doesn't matter. It's back Conte. He will not commit. I think there's just slight lag between us. Moni Pete doesn't matter to back Conte. He will not commit, and we will walk in the summer of earlier. Good to see you, Moni Pete. Sammy Spur, just get the fraud. Conte out of the club. He can only manage top players in all positions. He doesn't have an ounce of coaching ability. I'd like to think he does, Sammy. Pick up Leighton Evelyn.
This is the thing. No. I'm not letting that slide. I'm here as a content creator, and I'm going to pull it up because it's a guy, like you're saying, he can only manage top players in all positions. He doesn't have an ounce of coaching ability.
Like you said earlier, he improved Dyer and he improved Dyer and Davies. He's made Dyer and Davies. He resurrected Davies' career.
This guy bought Bastoni through at Inter, bought Barella through at Inter, made a wing back out of Victor Moses from Chelsea, also brought him to Inter. Same as Ashley Young. Were any of them world class when he got his hands on them? It's nonsense. The guy has more trophies in his cabinet over the last decade than what Tottenham do. But you're going to sit here and say he doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, it's absolute nonsense. Just this thing. We sit here and complain about trophies, this, that, and the other. And then we blame managers that have trophies in their cabinet. They are the ones that are supposed to come here and help us. But if they don't get all the help they need, what do you expect them to do? And then ultimately they end up carrying the can. It's absolute nonsense. Look, if you don't agree with Conte's style of play, his tactics, fine, I can accept that. But don't sit here and tell me the guy doesn't know what he's doing when he's got more trophies in his trophy cabinet in the last decade than Tottenham Hotspur do as a club.
I also like to think that he's gotten more out of certain players that we all probably a year ago were saying were absolute dross and needed to go. And he actually convinced us and almost cast a spell on us, thinking that those players now were actually good enough to do something with Spurs. It's actually impressive, the tunes that he's gotten out of them. Like, it's just they've started to fail him, but he's gotten an impressive tune out of Dyer in the past. He's got an impressive tune out of Davies. Like I said, resurrected his career. Doherty, I think the same way. I don't really think Doherty had much of a future with Spurs until Conte came back as well. We have to actually think about some of these players that should probably thank Conte for how much he's actually improved them. In fact, the only reason Dyer is in the England squad right now is because of Antonio Conte. To think about it, Leighton Evelyn, we ain't getting top four. No chance in hell. It's not Conte's fault. I'd still keep in the hope for top four, and we're top four still right now, despite how dreadful it's been late. And then if we get a win against Ted Lasso, that's 3 points to keep in top four. Big up, Leighton. Good to see you in here. Derek
My
Ratchin,
arch nemesis 2.0. Big up, Lane. Good to see you.
good to see Derek Hutchinson, Wayne Bonner in the house. Always good to see Wayno. Says, fuck Darren Sanchez off and get 2 quality center backs in. Conte's not the problem. The twat upstairs is Levy and Lewis doing nothing and taking the piss out of the fans. Cough up or piss off. That's a nice tagline, I must say. I kind of like that one, Wayno. I might put that as my sort of transfer strategy this January. Big up, my man. And we got to see a bit of Hill Messi last night, Wayne Bonner, but I don't think it was enough. Big up, brother. Just making sure I'm not missing anybody, Dave, but I think we're going to get started here. Jason Bell,
Uh,
good to see you. Jason Bell, as always. Good to see you, Crocodox. Really appreciate you, Crocodox. Foggy Foam, Darren Kilbane, Mick Hermelach as well, Hod God, and Wisdom, and as well as Vaneeth Kapala. Good to see you all. Really appreciate you tuning in. Rudy Toot as well. But everybody, I think we're going to get started. Smash that like button while you're in here, and we'll get to the Twitter sphere, everybody.
Big up, everybody. Sorry, I'm just responding to Sammy Sparrow. He says, I'm sorry, Dave, but yeah, you've lost the plot if you refuse to believe Conte isn't a problem purely on blind faith that he's the Messiah and will fix everything. Time changes opinion as will yours. No, my opinion hasn't changed on these players from day one, actually. What I would say to you is go and look at my very first appearance when we were talking TV, some of my early videos on this channel. You will find I've had the same opinion on this backline all the way throughout. And what I would say is I'll change my opinion if I think Conte and the manager's the problem, but he's not. It's the same backline that got Jose sacked, same backline that got Nuno sacked, and same backline that got Conte sacked. And two, also Pochettino when he had to start relying on them before he got sacked as well. So 3 of the world's greatest managers, he's got sacked. 2 of them have some of the most trophies ever hauled in by a manager. But yeah, so what I would say is, have you lost the plot? If you think Dyer, you think Sanchez, you think Sess Young and Doherty's performances in a Spurs jersey since we've signed them all the way to now is good enough for an elite club like Tottenham Hotspur, then you've lost the plot, not me.
Good to see you, Ollie Freeman. Good to see you, Justin Fiacconi. Great name as well, my man. And then Mark P. Really good to see you, Mark. The Mark Army and the Phil Army is strong tonight, everybody. But everybody, smash that like button, like I said, while you're in here. Feel free as well to keep getting your comments in. But we are going to pay special attention to the comments on Twitter, the people who have taken their time to put their opinions there, and as well as the people that put their opinions and their comments in the community section. If you do want to skip the queue, though, feel free to throw it in a super chat. It's a great way to support the channel. But Dave and I will do our best to continue to get your comments up on screen. But like I said, we are trying to get that special attention, to the people's voice here on Twitter and as well as in the community section. And also, like I said before, and have maybe done in the past, if maybe you would rather do it through the community section, I can certainly show people how to do it. This is Dave's comment here from the Twitter. Tottenham fans, we have hit a new low. That was a disgraceful performance and unacceptable. Dyer, Sanchez, Doherty, Sassignon just leave and hanged on for too long and are just causing the fans pain at this point. This club will not progress as long as they are here. Spurs fans, thoughts? Like that one, Dave. Chris, I have no words to how I feel after that shambolic, spineless, gutless performance. These Deadwood players are ruining this club, but what makes it worse is we can't get rid of them because of Levy and his ridiculous, extortionate prices he puts on these players. And that's another thing. We are kind of in trouble here, Chris, because we're going to be asking Levy to dip into the pockets and dip into the purse strings, you could say, more so than he normally does in January. That's already kind of asking him to do something out of his comfort zone. And then on top of that, we're now going to ask him get rid of those evaluations and those price tags that he's put on these worthless players. And he's going to have to kind of have a big fat reality check on these guys and realize that he's not going to get the money that he probably thought that he would for them. And he's going to have to take a huge loss. And will he come to realize that? I think when it comes to the price tags of the players, I don't think he will, because I think Paratici has had maybe a tough time getting rid of these players. He actually has gotten rid of more of these players than Hitchin ever did, but he's had a tough time, I think, selling them because they're pretty much worthless, but also perhaps because Conte or someone like a Daniel Levy isn't just going to get rid of them right away. He'd rather maybe see if they can play well on a loan, recoup some of the money then. So it is going to be a big fat reality check. And I'm not sure Spurs can just send every single player on loan either, Chris. I think there is a loan limit, if I'm not mistaken. Dermot here, over the years, I've seen players like Perryman, Graham Roberts, Paul Miller, and Razor Ruddock. Even I'm not sure who that is, Dave.
Razor Ruddock. I don't think. Oh yeah. Razor Ruddock. Yeah. He's a crazy man. He's crazy, Jacko.
Like a Pepe for Spurs or something like that.
He's just crazy. I'm not sure he played for Spurs though. Maybe he did. I didn't think he did.
Even Dave Mackay, who would die for the shirt. Dyer Sanchez, Doherty Sassignon bring shame to the shirt. For the first time in 41 years, I've fallen out of love with my club and broken-hearted. Come on, you Spurs. Dermot, I know you have the strongest love for this club, though, my man. You're practically the historian. It's like the Library of Alexandria when it comes to Dermot and his knowledge of Tottenham Hotspur. But Dermot, I know it's been a rough night, probably a rough week as a Spurs fans, but I know if anybody's going to pick themselves, if anybody's going to dust themselves off, it's going to be you, Dermot, you absolute legend. Zoe as well. Good to see you win, Zoe. I'm gutted, Dave. I'm going to give this one to you, Dave. I'm gutted, Dave. I would have preferred to put the kids out and give Sarr, Hill, White, and Devine a game. Our defenders are so poor, and I hope the majority are sold or loaned out in January. Keep Perisic and Dyer for emergency backup, but the rest need to fuck off. Absolutely love it, Zoe.
Yeah, look, I agree. See, this is where we have to kind of see it for what it is. Now, see, we've been fans of this club longer than what Conte's been here, so we know what these guys are going to produce. So that's why we're at the point where it's like we just want to see the youngsters now, because there's no point in persisting with the same old shit. But since Conte's got here, a lot of these guys played well under Conte last year. So with Conte, he hasn't lost the faith in them the way that fans have lost the faith in them, because he's only been here a year. And under most of that year, they've actually done well for the guy. So he hasn't lost the faith in them the way we have. So when these games come about, he's going to give them their chance, because he hasn't lost the faith in them the way we have. But look, our defense, I keep saying this, so we're not going to change. We're not going to push on to the next level when we have these guys holding us back. You know, guys that were never starters under Pochettino, by the way. Never. Only his backups. But then Pochettino's squad was slowly disintegrating, gone, and we're left with the backups of it across that back line. Also, let Jose Mourinho down, Nuno down, Conte now. I'm fed up with them. I want them gone. And in fact, I was actually impressed with the reaction I've seen on some of the social media and the news feeds, with how much people are just saying, look, I've backed them, I've given them a chance, I want them gone now. And them four names are coming up repeatedly. Session, Doherty, Sanchez, and Dyer. The fans are just fed up. They want them gone. It's unforgivable. And it's about time. It's about time, because
if you also look at the worst performing players on the pitch, Dave, too, like all of them have been players that were here 3+ years. You know, not players that have been here recently, I would say, too. And the whole back line, you know, on top of that, players, except for Longley, were players that have been here really 3+ years at least. And just need to get rid of, I think, the guys that have stuck around. You really do. It's obvious. It really is.
We do. Like Langley didn't make the mistakes Dyer and Sanchez were making yesterday. No. Romero doesn't make them sort of mistakes, you know, which is a shame. He's been out injured. Then you go into the forward line. We've been decimated with injuries. So we're being impacted on both ends of the pitch. But I'll always maintain this. Forward line, once they get fit, they're going to go and score you goals. They're going to go and dig you out of holes. But like I always say, Jack, you cannot expect them to score a minimum of 3 every single game to go and win a game. It's not possible.
Looks like Razor Ruddock was a boxer, but we had our own Razor Ruddock and Neil Ruddock, everybody is saying. And a tough as nails, people have said. I guess we got him.
Neil Razor Ruddock. Yeah.
I think we got him a little bit past his prime, said somebody as well. I absolutely love it. That's good little good little trivia knowledge for us kind of younger Spurs fans. I bet a KPV is absolutely gobbling this up for his trivia knowledge. Really appreciate that, everybody. And honestly, I'll accept my lack of, I'll accept my ignorance. I'll accept my lack of knowledge. I had no idea Razor Ruddock even played for Spurs. Big
No,
up.
no, I was Liverpool.
Mark New in the house. David and Jack, I agree. Poor performances by poor legacy Hitchin players. Really well said, actually. Maybe we should call it that, actually. Legacy Hitchin players. Dyer, Dodge, Dyer, Doherty, Sanchez, and Sessegnon. Many teams want to rebuild with January loans after the World Cup. Paratici is the Don. He will sort it out, even in a short window. Our squad just isn't big enough to compete for 4 cups. Come on, you Spurs. I wish the squad was good enough to compete for 4 cups, and because we knew that this was probably our best opportunity to win one, Mark. But I hope that maybe clubs are looking for those sort of kind of loans after the World Cup. And you never know, right? Or a lot of clubs these days, they don't exactly have the sort of spending and purchasing power that they did in the past, but they are kind of being a bit more savvy about it these days. And that does maybe mean some sort of loan moves can be orchestrated and whatnot. And we know a guy like Paratici, he loves to make a complicated deal. He will make a deal happen. If it can be as complicated as possible, he will find a way to do so. And if it involves some sort of weird loan deal to whatever vague club it can take in order to get them out of here, I think he'll do it. I think he'll do it. He'll send them to Norway. He'll send them to Estonia. He'll send them, to Cyprus. He'll send them anywhere as long as I think he can get them out of here. Paratici, he's been quite brutal in the past. Ellie as well with a comment. Big up, Ellie. My sentiments exactly, David and Jack. As long as these non-ballers, and in my eyes, there are still 9 deadwood kept, and for fuck's sake, recently given new contracts, our club will have very little chance of past glories or winning a measly 1 trophy in the next 22 years if we remain on repeat. Anything to say to Ellie, Dave? And I must say, she's not had the best week, let's be honest. And I hope she's powering on. And she does, though, have the spirit of a Viking. So just like Dermot, I know she'll dust herself down and she'll pick herself up. But anything to say to Ellie here, Dave?
Yeah. Well, actually, I know I was on the phone to her last night. She is feeling a bit better, still a bit bruised from it, but she's all good. Um, Look, the Deadwood. Do you know what? I've just been on about for 3-4 years now. I'm just bored of talking about. I just want them up. I just want them out. But she says our club will have very little chance of past glories, or winning a measly 1 trophy in the next 2 years if we remain on repeat. And it's exactly spot on. You keep backing average guys who haven't won anything over managers who have won anything, then you're just going to keep seeing the same cycle. It's that simple.
Yeah. Big up, Ellie, and good to see you.
Okay.
Good to see you're still, plugging THFC till I die, still working away. Ellie, really absolute legend. Moondog Razor played for us and came from Liverpool. Getting educated today, Dave, aren't we? And we got certainly a bit of a humbling last night as Spurs fans, and now we're getting educated this morning. Appreciate it, Moondog. And hopefully you're, I don't know how you're feeling today, Moondog. I bet you're absolutely done, with even the sight of a Moon Boots or a Moonhead. And you're probably going to have to continue to watch him through this World Cup, Moondog, if you're even thinking about watching England. I do apologize. I can't believe Moon Boots has done this to you. Now you just can't even get rid of him. You can't even avoid him, it feels like these days. Moondog, but big up, brother.
Yeah.
Good to see you in here.
Big
As
up,
always.
Moondog. It's good to see you, my man. I know you're. I know you're as pissed off as me, my man. Just keep the faith. Hopefully, we beat Leeds at the weekend. I mean, I can't go into the World Cup off the back of a loss. We got to beat them. It's gonna kill me.
Steve D, we got beat by a second tier Nottingham Forest side. We were and we're persisting and we are persisting in playing a pragmatic system that emphasizes a solid back line, question mark. Why are we playing 7 holding players against a subpar opposition? I find it amusing, to be honest, that fans are either all Conte's fault or all players' fault. No excuse for that. Nottingham Forest minus 20 goal difference, bottom of the league, made 9 changes to that game, 10 goals all season, 10 men from 75th minute onwards, more shots, can't buy into our players are worse than this, to be honest, says Steve D.
I like the comment, but what players do you want them to pick?
Yeah, it feels like we are forgetting the injuries, in my
Bentancur
opinion.
isn't more attacking than Højbjerg, Basum, or Skip. That's all he's got to pick from in the midfield. Neither is Papa Massar. You go to the forward line. Kulusevski's only back from injury. He's not fit enough to play 90 minutes.
Yeah,
Neither is Richarlison. And Lucas has tendonitis. We were told last week the
wasn't even
guy's really,
available.
really struggling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what players do you want him to pick? That's what I'd ask Stevie. Stevie, you're in the comments. What players do you want him to pick? I like the comment and I like the theory around it. But when you look at our squad, suggest me players that he could have picked last night that were fit that would have made this lineup more attacking.
Yeah. I would also say, Steve, I feel like the injuries, if he had a full team, he would have gone 3-4-3. And had he maybe gone 3-4-3, I think you probably would have been enjoying maybe the football a bit more often. And Steve, I think you always have maybe some interesting criticisms of Conte, that's for sure. And you probably are right in saying you don't really like sort of the polarity about it right now. It's like people are either just full Conte, can't see any sort of faults at all, or they're kind of just full Conte out and they just can't stand the side of the guy. There probably needs to be some sort of kind of more kind of middle ground there. And I do agree with that. Absolutely. But Steve, I think we are kind of ignoring the injuries. Kulusevski just literally was claimed by Stellini not able to start. Even we knew that before the game even happened. Richarlison was pretty much the same situation. The likes of Lucas wasn't even on the bench, wasn't even included. Like I said, he probably could have given Hill a chance, but these are then the things. Like if we're going to say that he should have been given Hill a chance and things like that, then I absolutely would agree. But that's when I think it gets a bit nitpicky, and then I kind of find myself like not really wanting to sack a guy over not picking Brian Hill. As much as I like Brian Hill, as much as I think he probably would have helped Conte more than maybe Conte thinks. It's not really something that I'm going to sack a manager over. That's just how I stand on it. Big up, Steve D, though.
Appreciate it. Just by the way, though, I do disagree that you got to blame both. For me, I just blame certain individuals. Jack
Philly,
can agree all he wants. Jack's his own man, but I disagree, Steve.
Philly 2109. How many times, David, have we gone into games like this believing in the same players, and each time they've let us down? Zagreb, Mura, and Palace. It is the same definition of insanity. It is the definition of insanity. I hope Kane scores 6 goals as soon as possible the next summer for his career, runs to Bayern, and goes and wins a trophy. Believe me, Philly, he's playing until he's 45, and then he's going to go win a Super Bowl when he comes over to the NFL. He's getting a trophy. But I feel like there's so many disgraceful performances they can pick from Phil. I don't know. Believe me, my man, it is the definition of insanity to continue to go with Dyer and Sanchez. But for me, I don't really know if Conte had much of a choice. He could have gone with Tanganga, I guess. But like I said, it's sort of a Brian Hill situation there. Like, I don't really think I'm going to really get too upset with him over picking between the likes of Sanchez and Tanganga. Those are both just absolutely horrible options to choose from. Also, because we kind of did forget that Tanganga made, if I'm not mistaken, like 3 kind of similar sort of errors on the bounce, like in a row last season. I'm pretty sure Tanganga did kind of cost his chance with Conte to really be fully trusted. And I think we probably might have forgotten that as well. So he really was just picking between 2, let's be honest, shitty choices. And I'm not really going to get up in his, I'm not really going to get too up in his case if he's picking between Tanganga and Sanchez in order to beat Liverpool or in order to beat even this Forest side. And I know this Forest side, again, we have to play so much better in that. And I think he can receive some criticism for that. But when those are some of the decisions he had to make between, I really don't envy his position. I really don't. I think that would be a nightmare. Big up, Philly. Badwell Mazid, 100% correct. David and Jack, they need to leave as soon as possible. They were awful and can't beat a lower league team. Levy has to accept his disgraceful signings and cut his losses and sign players Conte wants and needs. Great passionate commentary. We were talking about this earlier, Dave, where like Levy, right? He's going to have to bite the bullet here on some of the evaluations that he puts on these players and stuff like that.
Thing is, I mean, we're also forgetting that Conte mentioned a number of times over the summer that he wanted centre, he wanted defenders in here. Number of times. It's not his fault the club didn't go and get him what he wanted. You know, and this is very like this is what annoys me as well. We look over it like all summer long. We were looking for defenders, and then we were told we can't get a first choice, so we're going to wait to get a first choice. Okay, I can accept that, but then don't sit here and blame Conte for these guys when he's wanted to replace them this summer anyway. I agree. Look, you know, we all sit here and say about these guys, oh, well, different manager could come in and get better. You know, they'd go to a different club and perform well. I'll ask you a question. Ben Davies and Dyer have always been backup. Why has none of the lower league teams come in for them?
Yeah, good point.
They've been achievable. It's not like it's Harry Kane or Son you're coming in to buy. You're looking at Davinson Sanchez, Doherty, Session, Davies, Dyer. Why has no club come in and put an offer for these guys? Because they don't want them. We already learned our lesson before with Lo Celso, with Ndombele, with Harry Winks, where we thought, no, people want them. Of course they do. It's Tottenham's fault. It's the manager's fault. No, sometimes it's just on the individual. And unfortunately, over a period of time, we collected a bunch of twats as individuals, and we collected so many, we're still trying to offload the last few, and it's just still holding us back. Once they go, this club can move on. Many people are saying, why aren't we seeing the youngsters? We got an under-21 squad there. Yeah, great. But in order to play these guys, you have to have a core spine in the team to fit them in around, so to give them the best chance. So you're not throwing them under the bus going out there. Yeah. And we do not have that unless you play your best 11.
Yeah. CC, big up CC. How many more embarrassing games do they have to put us through? Colchester, Zagreb, Mira, Pachos, the list goes on. Sick of these clowns. As long as they play, they'll let us down. Keep Cootie, Romero, Longley, and Perisic. Get rid of the rest of our defenders. Let's be honest. Like, I'll throw Emerson in the list for people that want to just get rid of the guy and don't want to see him anymore. But you really do have to look at the legacy Hitchin players like brought up before. And I think CC is kind of understanding this. I think we just have to stick with basically any of the players that have been brought in since the Paratici era. Just stick with them and just please just build from there. Just get rid of basically every single player that has been brought in during that Hitchin era, because they've all just stuck around for far too long, even if it really isn't their fault in a certain game, or it isn't like the case of even a Ben Davies who has stuck around for a very long time. I know he didn't even play, but we really do just have to get rid of the guys that have been a part of these results, because ultimately you do look at the Zagrebs, the Mira, the Pachoses, the Colchesters, the Middlesbrough, the Genks, the Gents. Like the list is so ridiculously long. Like you can name almost every belt. We've lost to every Belgium club, embarrassingly. We lost to Antwerp. We've lost to Anderlecht, like all with the same players. And it's the same mix of players. It's not a Romero, it's not a Perisic, it's not a Longley, it's not a Bentancur, it's not a Kulusevski, it's not a Basuma. These sort of players, CC, I actually feel bad for the Bentancurs and the Basumas and stuff, because these are like their first ever experiences, sort of like going through these atrocious and embarrassing and frankly horrible results. But the likes of Dyer, Sanchez, etc., Doherty, Sessegnon, they've experienced this multiple times, and they probably, like we have maybe brought up last night, I think genuinely Sessegnon, etc., Dyer, etc., Sanchez, etc., who've been a part of those results that you mentioned, CC, they actually pick themselves up and forget about these results sooner than the fans do, because they've gone through so many of these at this stage that it's probably like clockwork for them. They know how to just, dust themselves up and pick themselves up again. And it's really quite pathetic, if you ask me, because people like Bentancur and Basuma are probably just shell-shocked after a game like that. But Dyer's like, it's another Tuesday for Dyer. It's another Wednesday night for him. He's been through this before plenty of times.
I think many people are forgetting this is a guy Jose Mourinho hauled off before halftime in a Champions League game against Olympiacos because he was awful.
Yeah. Scootley here, THFC. I remember very clear we said it during the summer window. If we don't get quality center backs, we're in trouble. Saw this coming. This guy's always revert to type. Sick of this nonsense. Sick of Dyer, Sanchez, Davies, Doherty. How come out last week? He feels sorry not to work hard. Or Doherty, how he came out last week and he feels sorry not to work hard for Jose. This is the thing with Doherty. I think he's said this before, like a few times, about not really working with Jose, it not really being, the manager's fault and stuff like that. Like I believe me, like I credit him and I accept, the humility and things like that from Doherty. But he's now come out a few times with this sort of quote that I just kind of just don't really care anymore. Like I just accept that he's just shit. And I just don't think that he can really get much better than that. I just don't think there is some sort of manager that's going to magically get the tune out of Doherty. I think they've tried their best with Doherty, and this is the best you're really going to get with him, if you ask me. And I appreciate that he acknowledges his own limitations. He acknowledges he's not the greatest player by any means, but I also just don't really care anymore. I just want him gone. It's just how it is. It's simple as.
I wonder, just quickly, Jack, I wonder, do we know who this is? I mean, it's something similar to what we've seen before about the Irish Hotspurs name being used about. Very sad, to be honest with you. And again, it's just we get blamed whenever we lose. It's absolutely pathetic and sad.
Yeah, certainly.
I wonder who it is. I wonder.
The Smasher, people say we have excellent depth. I don't see the depth others seems to talk about. The player you mentioned, Dave, they're simply just not good enough. And how long do we have last-ditch players such as Sanchez and Dyer? The Smasher, what I would ask you is, would Norway take them? But I'm pretty sure you and Daniel would probably say on behalf of Norway, nope, we're going to reject them. So let me know if maybe you know any friends in Sweden. I think it's called like I can't pronounce it, but it's a very fun leak to say up in Sweden, perhaps even, Finland, if they could take them up there. If you have any neighbors that know them, feel free, because honestly, the Smasher, we need to send them as far away from Tottenham Hotspur as possible. But I'm pretty sure if we sent them to Norway, you would never forgive me. But big up the Smasher.
Yeah, big up Smasher.
Tim Ladd, I would agree if we want to be genuine title contenders, but it's not as simple as that. And some of those players have been okay until recently. What would you say to that, Dave? I feel like they haven't, honestly, Tim Ladd, been very good recently. I'll be honest, Tim, we're bang out of form right now. We're bang out of form.
Yeah, well, all of October they've been shit, and it's carrying on into November. I mean, look, I agree. I think, look, Dyer and Davies done a job under Conte up until recently, but it's like what the guy up above says, Jack. Where I said it over the summer. If you think these guys are good enough, do not come back moaning to me when they start costing you games and costing you in the early rounds of the cups. And look what's happened the last month and a half. It's all they've done. And like, this is the thing, like the whole aim of having Conte in here was to bring you to a title challenge, was to bring you a trophy, this, that, and the other, and that's where we want to be going underneath Conte. And look, for me, this is the problem with them. I've said this time and time again. They were top of the form, the back line, that was top of the league under Jose Mourinho. It fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
From the first 3 games, kept 3 clean sheets under Nuno.
Yeah, the cycle.
Fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Last season got top 4 once Nuno was sacked and Conte came in. This season fell off a cliff. And the point is, you can't keep blaming the managers for same individuals where you keep seeing a new manager bounce. And by the way, the reason why they have the new manager bounce is because they are focused on when the previous manager sacked. They're the ones that come out in the paper, cry and moan, bitch and bleat and everything else. It's them. So they have no option but to perform when a new manager comes in here. But you know what I find ironic is we keep giving these guys new contracts. They hold the power. Because all they've got to do, they know managers
they can get the manager sacked.
So they play them, they fall off a cliff, they get the manager sacked, and then all of a sudden they're here at the club longer. And the reason why it happens, it's not because they don't like the manager, it's not because they don't like home truths being told this, that, and because they know the money they're on at Tottenham, they're not going to get anywhere else. They're coming to the end of their careers. They want to hold on to that for as long as possible.
That, and also, I mean, Davies has even deliberately gotten Nuno sacked. Like, he went upstairs and got Nuno sacked, went from under Nuno's, you could say, whatever it is, and got him sacked. So who's to say they wouldn't do it to Conte? Phil Barnett, January is the beginning. January is beginning to be so important now. We need to get rid of this dross and bring quality in them defensive areas, because if we don't, then it will be a trophyless season once again. The only gripe I have with Conte is that he's playing defensive football with poor defenders. I see what you mean, Phil, where it's like the defenders are absolutely dreadful, and when it is defensive, then it just makes it not enjoyable to watch. The thing is that if it were Pochettino, I think we'd be still conceding the same clownish goals. We would still have the same sort of clown fest in the back. If it were Pochettino, sure, it probably would be a bit more progressive going forward, and it'd be a bit more of kind of like a basketball game, you could say, between the two sides, I think, each game. But it's just, do we want that? I think it's up to you. Like, I'm not going to say that that's not that, I think it's up to people stylistically what they want. I'd probably rather keep the score down every game instead of keeping it a 4-3 or a 3-2. And let's be honest, the team that we're about to come up against, the likes of a Jesse Marsch, I think he actually does have 4 decent defenders, or at least 3 or 2 decent defenders over at Leeds. But he and Bielsa have always been known for having very sort of leaky styles of play, and it always turns into these like 4-3, 3-2 sort of games that are, I mean, let's be honest, exceptionally entertaining for the neutral, But is that something we really want to go through with Poch? Maybe some of us do, and that's totally fine. But I don't really know if I do. I can't really want. I don't want to watch a 4-3 sort of contest with Dyer and Davies, conceding and Sanchez conceding 3 goals a game under Pochettino. I'd rather actually personally just go through this and watch Antonio Conte get the defenders that he wants in this club. Because if we also bring in a Pochettino, who's to say we actually truly get rid of Dyer and Sanchez and those guys? I'm not really sure, Phil Barnett. But January, like you said, so important, so important.
There it is. That's Phil. Big up, Phil.
Oh, Phil. Big up, my man. Now I know. Let me know if I'm following you. No, I'm not. Big up, Phil.
New follower there, Phil.
Monero, Dyer, Davies, Sesson, even Skip are surplus. To be honest, even Skip, I feel like Skip hasn't done a whole lot wrong this season. But let's be honest, he has been a bit sort of pedestrian in certain games and hasn't offered a whole lot sort of going forward, or even he just seems a bit nervous with the ball at his feet. Perhaps he'd be better off playing sort of Basuma's position, kind of maybe more of a defensive role in the middle. But I think more Basuma has been playing there, the more brilliant he's been looking recently. He has been absolutely crazy good for us. So do you want to move him out of his comfort zone? I'm not too sure. But Skip, I'm keeping time for. Sess, Dyer, and Davies, definitely not. Definitely not. WB Penfold, Conte needs backing in January and in the summer next year. Otherwise, we are doomed. And something to be said is that if Conte goes, is Sonny and Kane really staying? I'm not sure. K-Vijay at David, another manager gets sacked and these people survive. It's the history of Tottenham. They lack consistency and basics. Dave, he believes in the cycle.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't believe in it, you're just ignoring facts. It's that simple. You're just ignoring facts if you don't believe in the cycle.
Yeah.
What was the problem under Jose, by the way? The best defensive coach in the world. What was the problem under Jose, Jack? Because we could score goals. What was the problem? Couldn't keep them out. What was the problem under Nuno? Couldn't score or keep them out. What's the problem now under Conte? Can't keep them out. There's only one problem there for me.
And it's also, maybe it seems odd then to go for like a more
attacking manager. Why did Poch get sacked? Why did Poch get sacked? Again, because we couldn't keep the goals out.
Really leaking goals towards then. Yeah, really leaking goals towards then. But that's what I'm wondering, though, is like, if we try to attack more, we might score goals more. And there's certainly that sort of, I think that there's something behind that, but we're just going to concede just as many, Dave. We're going to concede just as many, if not more. We're going to concede just as many, if not more. And who's to say we're going to outscore them every time?
Forest. They're the team bottom in the Premier League. So it's only going to get progressively worse. The more you play that style, the higher teams you play. You're playing the bottom of the Premier League. They ripped us apart last night. With their B team, by the way.
Yeah.
Imagine what the rest of the teams are going to do to us playing that way. Those teams with better players.
Philip King, and what about Conte? Listen, if you want Conte's criticism, here's mine. I think he can definitely give Hill more of a chance, and I think he probably would have benefited in a few different games this season to have given Hill a start, especially Jet Spence. With what we saw, I think we immediately can see that Jet Spence is obviously better than Doherty, and you probably should be putting Jet Spence maybe ahead of Emerson, but I personally think Emerson has shown to be better than Doherty, especially after a performance last night. From the likes of Doherty. If that was Emerson out there playing that performance, he'd be absolutely slated. And we'll see if Doherty gets the same treatment. But Philip, if I were to throw any criticism towards Conte from last night in particular, I think definitely he probably could have considered the likes of a Tanganga ahead of a Sanchez. I don't really blame him, though, because Tanganga doesn't even really want to be here. And he also, as well, made some pretty atrocious mistakes last season that wouldn't really give me full confidence for him to come straight into this team. Another thing as well is when it comes to the wingbacks, like I said, Jet Spence could have come in and Hill could have come in, but those are sort of the criticisms that I would lay at him if I were to lay any.
Yeah, fair enough.
Daryl MC heading over Saturday, and it's the first time I honestly don't want to. Absolutely pathetic from start to finish. Any sort of confidence you can give Daryl here, or do you kind of feel like he's rightfully so nervous, going into this?
Yeah, look, I know a few others that are heading over. Ollie's heading over. Philip and Brian were due to head over, but they're not anymore. And it's not because Tottenham are playing bad; it's because they want to go to the AC Milan game in February. But honestly, I don't really know what to say. Like, I'm not gonna. It's pathetic. It is pathetic, and I'll be honest. I mean, it's just demoralizing. It's deflating. It's not good enough. Like, fans buy that jersey in anticipation of wearing it around with a bit of pride, showing it off. and then you've these got numpties running around, absolutely
Mhm,
taking the piss in it. It's a
mhm.
joke.
Great name. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do the pronunciation justice here, but Antonis, big up my man, and I love the surname. It's really cool, actually. Yeah, I'm not going to try, but great name. The other three I can see, but why slam Dyer at this point? He's been solid and can be a great sub if we get a world class player in his position. He loves Spurs and is such a good guy with a good mentality overall. It's a Carabao Cup. Don't get Spursy. This year is unusual. I understand this year is unusual.
Don't
I
get
understand it's only the
Spursy.
Carabao Cup. It's our only chance of winning this, but Dyer, he's intelligent, believe me, people like him, but Dave, it's just judgment of him as a footballer, right? It's nothing to do with him as like a lad or anything to do with him as a bloke or anything like that. It's just his footballing skills. They're
Don't
just not good enough for this club.
don't get Spursy. Back in Dyer is Spursy. Ignoring the mistakes he's made over the last month and a half is Spursy. Like, this is the problem. Don't say to me I'm getting Spursy because I'm unhappy about a Carabao Cup result. It's a Carabao Cup result piled on top of the October we've just had.
Mm.
The guy has made mistake after mistake. He tells me, he's solid. He's great. He can be a sub. I mean, I don't want him coming off the bench if he's not executing the basics of football. Jack, yesterday, a long ball comes down. And this isn't the first time Dyer's had trouble with it. We all know Sanchez has trouble with
Yeah.
long balls. First thing you're told, first thing you're taught as a child, as a defender, don't let that ball bounce. What did the two of them do? Standing beside each other, we'll let it bounce and cause ourselves problems. I'm sorry. Like, you're forgetting about this guy who let the ball roll under his studs and gave away a goal to Frankfurt. You're forgetting about the guy. Like, this guy is the guy who just headed the ball back to Mo Salah for a free goal to give Liverpool the 3 points. You know what I mean? Yeah, please. That comment Spursy. I'm sorry, but that comment Spursy. I mean, if you're just going to blindly blame, if you're just going to blindly have faith in Dyer and ignore. And by the way, I've only pulled up 3 mistakes. When I looked at it last night, I think there was 6 or 7
It's
mistakes
black and
this
white
season
now. Yeah.
I can pull out. So
Yeah.
please don't call me Spursy because I'm having a go at him after one Carabao Cup game. By the way, I don't do off what he done last year either. I'll go off what he's done here for the 8 years, and it's fuck all.
Yeah. Harvey JM, I think people forget the football was as bad as this towards the back end of Poch too, and it's just not Conte's negative football. If a man who has won titles with Victor Moses and Ashley Young in his starting 11 can't get a tune out of some of them, then maybe it's their issue. Spot
Oh, someone
on.
please frame this.
Harvey.
I love Harvey.
Harvey. Stop
Harvey,
it.
this could be Harvey White, Jack. Hopefully it's Harvey White. He's a legend. Oh, Harvey, you're my new favorite. What a
Get a little
comment.
retweet, Harvey. Glorious human being. Big up, my man. We're just gonna let you have a mic drop, Harvey. No need to even, add much to it,
Harvey.
brother. I think it's Amon's or Amen's. I agree with Conte. I think if that was last season, I would hope last season he would be screaming on the touchline for the players to do better, as there's no excuse and give more. But I think he, of all people, understands the players' fitness levels and how low on energy they are right now. I think Conte shouldn't be getting so much blame as he's getting. We've had an injury crisis so far this season, and it's not been spoken about that much. I agree, or even really acknowledged. Let's be honest. Conte made the best of a really bad situation, and we sit in top 4 coming into the World Cup. Things can only get better from here. I actually do believe things can only get better from here, and that sounds ridiculous to say out loud, but I completely agree with that. Actually, what Amens has said there. I think we are at rock bottom. And if rock bottom is knocked out of the Carabao Cup, still in 4th position, round of 16, I mean, I'm pretty happy right now then if that's my rock bottom. But I know it's only getting better with here, and that has to do with those injuries. Absolutely right. He also says, I also think Spence is not yet ready, and people saying that he's better than Doherty and Emerson right now. I personally think that Spence should start to play when he's 100% ready for the Premier League instead of throwing him in there. I think he should be picked ahead of Doherty. That's just me, amens. I think probably he should be eventually picked ahead of Emerson right now. But Conte really does prefer Emerson by the looks of things. And I think he's probably given up on Doherty maybe after that last game as well. But Dave, anything to maybe say to Amens here? And one thing I would say is that if I were to maybe find another sort of criticism of Conte, if I did need to find one, is by not maybe playing the likes of Spence, by not maybe playing the likes of Hill, some of the injuries, I think, or some of the fitness levels, you could say, have maybe gone down, because he has maybe persisted with this 3-5-2 and has sort of maybe worked the likes of Bentancur and Højbjerg kind of into the ground, sort of maybe work some other players into the ground. But I don't really know. I think he still, though, has some of the most fit players in the league too. So it's hard to criticize him there. But I think there are a few things, Dave, that Amen's kind of said that I really liked. Even the fact that he said, making the best of a bad situation, sort of. Conte.
Look, I think we are making the best of a situation coming into this season. Look, I just think we have been unfortunate with the amount of injuries we suffered in the areas we've suffered them to key players. I think the fact that we're still sitting in fourth, look, maybe you could say lucky as well, but we're still there. I just don't see the second half of the season being as tough as this first half of the season. And big up, my mans. Big up, my mans.
Secure ITV PN shambles certainly was. Mikey Hot Takes, who was the last player that came to this club and actually improved? Every prospect signing, etc., is status quo. Getting tired of it, mate. I don't really understand that. Bentancur has come in here and improved. Højbjerg has come in here and improved. Kulusevski has come in here and improved. Hill has even shown improvement. Like, even that is like a far-reaching example, but he's still shown improvement since he's gotten here. I'm not sure what you're on about, Mikey. Launch Angle Larry, the manager's antiquated tactics hold this team down. You will never win 0, get him out. You will never win 0-0, get him out. Sonny Lowry responding, all elite winning managers who win everywhere else but have issues at Spurs. Manager number 15 or 16 in 20 years of ENIC will do the trick, then sack 18 months later.
Yeah, look, I'm going to take Launch Angle Larry's. I mean, I don't think he's setting up to go 0-0. I mean, it'd be stupid to do that, knowing that you can't do that with the defenders we have. This is the problem. We can't keep clean sheets where you need to keep clean sheets. Clean sheets and keeping a clean sheet is the springboard and the building block you need to be able to go and win games. You can't go and win games if you got defense. That's conceding 2-3 goals at a time inside 45 minutes and sending us in losing every round on the last 5, 6, 7 games. The whole idea is to keep a clean sheet. Yeah. And move forward and build from there.
Yeah. Gemiram agreed. It's shambolic. When Willie Dunlop, this club will not progress while ENIC and Levy are here. We need to start calling them out. Certainly, I know a lot of people have been calling them out this whole season, I would say, Willie. And who knows whether they'll get maybe ENIC and Levy out shouts again in a similar manner, perhaps. Too bad. I think the next game at home versus Leeds, or no, it's over at Ellen Road.
Home. Yeah,
it is at home, so who knows? But Willie, I believe there are a lot of people in the community who voice their displeasure. Scooter reacts.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, for me on that, if you watched my video I done a while ago, and even last January we brought in players, like, I'm willing to give this a bit of a go. I'm willing to get behind it, but I do believe we're in a position now where we've got to be sprinkling the team next summer with real talent. So if that doesn't happen, well, who knows?
Scooter reacts, and don't forget they played the last 20 minutes of the game with 10 men. Conte was correct in saying it's going to take 2 or 3 transfer windows to fix this team, but Levy and ENIC are going to have to show up for those 2 or 3 transfer windows and truly deliver. Scooter reacts, but definitely agree. George Hill, finally got to your comment, my man. They left it at the bottom. Where to begin? When I saw the lineup sheet, I expected the worst from some of these players. Moonhead, Sanchez, Doherty, Sassignon, etc. These idiots managed to make my negative expectations for them look like a piss take. They actually have fans wanting a top 5 manager sacked. I just can't understand how you can watch the same players be shit year in and year out and repeatedly blame the manager. How many managers need to be blamed and sacked until the people point at the common denominators that continue to plague this club we all love? It's a sick joke. Dave, maybe, I don't know, a Knight Award. Perhaps we knight George Hill in the Harris Army here. I'm not sure.
I feel bad. I really like Harvey's comments. I really do. But no,
he'll get a retweet. No, he'll get an honorary.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that.
Yeah, but Georgie, I think he might get a knighting.
Yeah, he's got the nickname in there. He's got Moonhead, and we're going to have to come up with something for Sanchez. You've got Shockerty, and you've got Messignon as well. So we just need to make sure we carry through with them nicknames from now on, George. But you know what? Like, it's crazy that this club has fans wanting a top five manager, and we're not talking top five in Premier League, we're talking top five in world football, that we want him gone. Considering when we had Pochettino, everyone was like, oh, if we had a top class manager, we'd get over the line.
Hard to know what you can wish for. Big up, George.
Georgie Hill, you're a legend, my man.
Nikesh, you've nailed it. Get that dog shit out. Sasson, Dyer, and Doherty, bench players at best. Sanchez and Royale need to leave now. Jed should start every fucking game. I don't know why we gave up second half. That's usually when we wake up. Today, we looked like we did not give a crap. Yeah, but that was probably the worst performance, I think, from this season. I think Nikesh simply has. But I think a lot of players also just simply gave up out there, which is also completely unacceptable compared to maybe other games where they've just been completely poor. This game, they were poor, and I looked like a lot of them gave up as well.
Look, I can understand it, Jack. Look, anyone that's played in a team, there's only so long you can keep chasing games for and getting away with it and having to score 2-3 goals. Like, there is going to come a point where everyone's just like, oh, fucking here again. Oh, fuck this shit. I'm fed up with it. You know what I mean? It does come to that point. You can't keep chasing the games we have because it's an exhaustion of energy in the second 45 minutes, which then has a knock-on effect going into the next game. And there's just so much more that comes along with it. You can't, there is going to be an inevitability where players are just going to be like, I'm not keep exhausting myself for fucking Dumb and Dumber, Numpty and Twat. I'm not exhausting myself for them guys. You know, I'm fed up with it. I'm fed up with going above and beyond and them escaping the criticism, them escaping everything. Yeah. It happens. Trust me, it happens.
Yeah, absolutely right, Dave. Everybody, really appreciate you all that put your comments in, you know, on the Twitter.
Dumber, Numpty, and Twat. Crack myself up.
Taking a page out of Dermot's book there, Dave. Everybody, really appreciate you all that put your comments in the Twitter. Really, I like Twitter. I enjoy it. But if it's not for you, this is why we put also a comment in the community section here for you, everybody. So if you want to know how to get your thoughts heard for this sort of show, the Twitter Reacts, this is how you do it. If you don't want to do it via Twitter, go to YouTube, type in that big search bar, The Irish Hotspur. Let's do that. Then you click on the bad boy where you go to the main page. Try to, you know, click on the logo or anything. Just try to get to the main page here. From there, you try to find that community section. If you can, try to click on that tab, and there should be a comment from last night, usually the night of the game, where you can find my sort of thoughts on it, and then you can leave your comment down below like that, everybody, in case you wanted to. But here's what I had to say. And Dave, maybe you might want to respond to this just quickly. I think it's kind of interesting. I have to be honest, and, you know, it's a bit self-reflective of myself. You know, I kind of just acknowledge my own sort of kind of full circle when it comes to some of these guys. I wrote, I have to be honest and say that I feel worse after that performance than I do about plenty of the other unacceptable performances this season. And that includes Man United, Newcastle, Sporting, etc. I have come full circle with that backline under Jose and Nuno. I wanted them all out, but Conte turned them around and made me give them another chance. I am now back where I started with Dyer and Sanchez especially. I pray we beat Leeds, but let's be honest, we need this World Cup break to recuperate. Give me your thoughts. So, Dave, really what I was trying to acknowledge is that I had originally wanted Sanchez, Dyer, the whole lot, get them all gone, never wanted to see him again. It's almost like Conte sort of made me believe in them again. He kind of, right, like you said maybe before, repaired their form, made them, you know, decent defenders, at least appearance-wise, decent defenders again, repaired their careers is what I'd like to say in some cases. And he sort of made me believe in them again and sort of made me give them maybe a second chance, or not really a second chance. Let's be honest, like another chance is really what I wrote. And I now find myself back at ground zero again with them. I've come full circle. So I want to know what maybe your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, do you know what, Jack? I think
maybe a lot of fans have. I think a lot of fans have from what I saw.
I think a lot of fans are similar. Like, Jack, when I was talking about these guys and I said, look, for me, I know people are thinking, oh, yeah, they're going to go strong now. But, Jack, I always had my reservations with the fact that how mentally and physically demanding Conte's regime is, how many ex-players like Ashley Young, pundits like Gary Neville and all have expanded and talked on it. And there's some players where they said you will see an initial boost, but that can't keep continuing because they're just not at that level to be able to keep up with it. And I was always reserved about that. But also when I looked at them last season, I wasn't getting on the hype train like everybody else. I just sat there and said, no, there's a difference between being good and competent, and all they are is just barely competent. But I don't blame people for giving them a chance. At the end of the day, you know, the form was there. Why wouldn't you give them a chance? Why wouldn't you if
Mhm.
the form's there? Just for
Yeah.
me, I just couldn't do it because what I didn't want to do is get myself up like you, Jack, to be smacked again with reality and then
Yeah.
sit there and go, I fell for it. I fell for it again. They've made me fall for their tricks. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it
Yeah.
because I knew this was going to
Yeah.
happen. That's why I
Yeah.
refused to do it because I knew this was going to happen. But I don't blame you for giving them another chance. The form is there for people to do it. The evidence was there for people to do it. But
Maybe
for me, I just couldn't. But I understand where you're coming from.
I think I'd like to think that I sort of did, mostly because Conte was doing that good of a job with them. Like he really
Yeah.
was. He was doing that good of a job with them that I was sort of convinced. I was like, wow, this guy really does sort of have superpowers. Like he's able to turn these sort of dross players and actually make them look decent. And also as well, I was thinking like, how soon are we really going to get rid of these guys? Let's be honest with Enoch and Levy, and like we brought up before, the price tags and all that sort of stuff, the price evaluations of our players. How soon is he really going to get rid of these guys? Perhaps give them another chance. And like I said, burned yet again by them. Burned yet
See,
again.
this is
Come
why I want to be
completely full
ruthless with them,
circle.
Jack. This is why I want to be ruthless. I don't want to be. I know we have to be patient. I don't know how much more patience I have though, because it's wearing thin with these guys. Like for me, I get we couldn't do everything in one window. We were always going to have to sacrifice somewhere along the line. I'm just not happy we sacrificed back there. But you know what you mentioned the Leeds game there, Jack. It's of utmost importance that we win that. If not, we go into the World Cup with the media, fans, pundits, all questioning Conte's future, and that is not a good place to be
Not
for
where we
well
want to
over a
be.
month.
Not where we want to be. Faz Radfar, though, saying critical to finish on a high, and we'll be there on Saturday. Faz,
On
need you,
fans.
my man. We need you there, Fazzy. Screaming loud, making sure Moonhead is all switched on and all that sort of stuff, Faz. I need you in his ear, Fazzy. But really good to
Faz,
see. Good to see that you're
can
there. I
you
bet it's going to be a
can you
good
make
game, actually, too. I bet it is going to be a good game, nonetheless.
it will be a good game, but they do everything we don't like, which is press high, little nippy players. You know, it's not going to be a comfortable game for sure. But Faz, if you could bring a side and you could put Dyer, Sanchez, Session, and Doherty in a back four, and then above it have Dummer, Numpty, and Twat. And just make sure they know how I feel about them. That would be ideal, Faz. Big yourself up.
Big up, Faz. Appreciate you, my man. Wolf Maller, good to see you, Wolf. Yes, that one really hit home today. Just gutting. We all keep hearing trophies, 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 and then have to witness a humbling like that in our pursuit of one that we all thought was within our reach. Tired of waiting for us to play like what we claim to be passionate about. Stop chatting and show us the
Yeah.
ambition. Certainly, that ambition, it needs to come from the players and it needs to come from the boardroom. There, Wolf. You're absolutely right. And I'm getting tired of also just the players just kind of giving up in these certain games. Like I'll acknowledge that Conte, like I said before, there's some things I think he can tweak. There's some things that I think he could look at differently. He has maybe the chance to go to a 3-4-3 if he plays like a Brian Hill. And I think if you play Brian Hill, might look a bit more exciting.
Yeah.
Fans might not be on his case so much, you could say. But these are sort of things that I just feel like are all part of this sort of journey. And it's a difficult one, Wolf. Dan Coy's was a really shocking and hurtful performance. We just seem to be imploding. We know what needs to be done. We know who needs to leave and what business needs to be done in January. I've not been a Spurs supporter for as long as other fans, but I'm starting to realize that hope that it can be changed by new additions in January will come crushing down when Levy may prefer Conte to walk than spend millions that we need to make this club successful again. He's done that before, Dan. You're absolutely right. It's not in the fans' best interest just to make money anymore. You can't have both. I've never been to the old White Hart Lane, but I'd rather have the old lane and good players and good attacking football. Even good players right now who are and were free in the summer with the Champions League football don't want to come to us. The only pull we have to get them in is Conte. Without him, I struggle to see us getting top four.
Yep. I think he's spot on. Look, you got to remember, Jose couldn't get us top four. Poch looked like he wasn't getting us top four. Nuno didn't get us top four. You know, he was way off it. We were way off it. Conte came in here and got us top four. So it goes to show that the guy is an elite manager. He can manage a squad of players. And look, it's just dangerous times. I think he's, and I've said this many times, but I agree with Dan here as well, Jacko, where if Conte goes, the owners have a lot to answer for. And like I said, we've been patient with them, trying to understand the finances, this, that, and the other. And look, I understand we don't have the money like a Chelsea, like a City, but we have enough money to be seeing a better footballing product on the pitch.
Mm,
We just do. You know, if Leeds United can put a better footballing product on the pitch and more exciting to watch than what we do, you know, it doesn't
yeah.
take a lot of money to do it. It just takes balls and getting rid of players that have been here for so long, that have seen you from White Hart Lane into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Like Ed M makes a good comment here, Jack. I'm just going to bring this up as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
He says top players can be told something once, which is true, and they get it. Poor players should spend so much time having to go over and over the basics because they don't have the football intelligence to get it. And this also comes back to something that Sammy Mockbell from Sky Sports said a while ago, that the
Mm,
players were complaining that the training is repetitive. Well, did they ever think it's repetitive? Because they're dumb? Because they're not at the level and that things have to be explained to them so many times for them to get it? Maybe that's why.
yeah. And then the other
Well,
times the training wasn't, sophisticated enough for them. It's just I don't know what they want anymore.
But I
Uh,
feel Dan's pain as well, though,
yeah.
Jack. I feel it, and like this is, do you know what? This is what compiles it, right? Is like
Mm,
the result in the performance is bad enough, but then you see the pain that Spurs fans are going through
yeah.
because of
Go
it.
through. Yeah.
It's like we have to go through 2, 3, 4 every single season, and that's what makes it worse. Is seeing other people's pain. You just like, for once, can we just please get something right here? Can we just please get it right?
Or,
Get
yeah.
that trophy in the belt. I give everybody a smile on their face that they deserve, because we've spent too long, especially last 2, 3 years, if not a bit longer, giving out, spending, angry at the club, this, that, and the other. So give us something to cheer about, like a good,
y-
good product on the
Yeah.
pitch.
You just hope that I agree with you, Dave, and I feel like the impact this has on the fans is greater than it really does on the players, and that's another thing that's sort of just I don't know. It's
Well,
something that I
yeah.
also sort of get a bit ashamed about, where it's like it's sad to see someone like Dan, William Kelly. I know there was another one today. Who was it? Wasn't Mark, but it was another. I really forget, but I really apologize
Sue.
as well. Someone Sue, other people like that I've seen, and it was someone as well in the comments I think earlier today that just said, it really just takes their love of the club away from them, and that's what's horrible is that that's what these players' performances, these sort of letdowns, these managers coming and going is doing to them. It really is, and I feel bad because the players I don't think realize that, or if the players do, they just don't really seem to understand the impact of that. Stellars Jack, it's the same old story. No speed or quality in the defense, no attacking leader in midfield, and dodgy wingbacks. Sanchez is terrified when he gets the ball. Sess and Emerson are still very raw. We have never replaced Ericsson. I think Sessegnon needs to go. Emerson didn't really even play last night, but if you want to take him with you, you're welcome to. Doherty needs to go as well, if you ask me, Stellars J. No attacking leader in midfield. That's probably true in the case that there is no guy that truly does want to sort of be that more floating, attacking midfielder, let's say in the 3-5-2. I just want us to go to the 3-4-3. I kind of feel bad that Conte's had to stick with this 3-5-2. I think he's wanted to go back to the 3-4-3, but he hasn't taken maybe the opportunities that he's been given to do so. He's kind of just stuck with this 3-5-2 to see if he can get a tune out of it. And with the lack of sort of an attacking midfielder in the side, and with sort of, I think, Skip and Basuma not exactly, being able to produce the results, going forward, which isn't really their fault. It's not in their skill set or in their locker. We are left a bit, we're left a bit asking going forward. We need more going forward. And I think this summer or this January, as much as I want an attacking midfielder, it's probably fourth or fifth still actually on my priority list. I need defenders in, and I need a new wing back in, especially if he doesn't want to use Jet Spence. Stellars J. Big up, my man. Jerome here. I am furious at this display today, and Conte saying it was too much for the players as they've been playing a lot of games. Yet he did not put Jed Spence on, who had more impact in that game, for rotation. Why? 15 years for a trophy. I'm waiting, and we bottled it again. Anything to say to Jerome here, Dave?
Look, I agree with the Jed Spence thing. I do. I think he should have started. I think
Yeah.
it was obvious when he came off the bench. Do I hope that Conte's looked at that and keep Jed Spence beyond January and looks to ship on Matt Shockerty? I hope so, because
Yeah.
the guy came on and had more of an impact in the half an hour he had than the hour that Matt Doherty had. Um, Again, look, you're asking Conte to put faith into a signing that he didn't want. It's a hard thing to do. But now that somewhere along the line he's got minutes, hopefully now he's shown enough to Conte to say, look, just ship on Shocker. You've got spectacular, you know.
Sean Godwin, Dave, it is simply keep Romero, Spence, Perisic, and get rid of the rest of our defense. Otherwise, if we don't, then our fans can't blame Conte and be disappointed when we get these results. Exactly right. I think once Conte gets rid of most of these players, and then he actually has just different defenders in the club, then also I think it's more free reign on criticizing Conte. I think we can then start to be much more probably, how would I put it? I think, I don't know, just the criticism I would definitely take is a lot more kind of worth maybe, diving into further, because it just, when he has just such horrible tools to work with, just such terrible tools to work with in the back line, just feels really harsh, and it feels just unfair to him continually to criticize him for Moon Boots mistakes, criticize him for Sanchez Lumpty mistakes, and as well in the case of Doherty, etc. as well. So I agree with you there, Sean.
I'd also say to people, Jack, I can't believe I haven't heard this before, and big up Sean for making me think of this. But people that big up Dyer, Sanchez, Davies, that think they're good enough, ask yourself this. Two players we all witness, no matter what age you are, Toby and Jan, did they make the mistakes these guys make? No. Did Kyle Walker and Danny Rose make the mistakes or look as bad as Sess Young does or Doherty does the other side? No. So then what in hell makes people think these guys are good enough for this club? If Conte had that defence that Poch had, do you think we'd be seeing these problems right now, Jack? Of course we wouldn't. Of course we wouldn't.
Sean Maddox, the dead weight has to go or Conte will. There are no more excuses for playing these shocking defenders. Levy had better open his pocket or Conte will walk in June, and nobody could blame him. Definitely agree with him there, Dave.
Them boos that were in that Nuno in the stadium against Manchester United, they'll be on Levy and Enoch if this guy walks.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Over 40 years I've supported, and you could see it probably happen in this Leeds game because it's right before the World Cup and everything. I could see it happening. Over 4 years I've supported this. Over 40 years, sorry, I've supported this club. This is the lowest I've ever felt. I honestly do not know if I can take much more. Yes, we have players who are total dross: Doherty, Dyer, Sanchez, Sessegnon, Emerson, but who in their right mind will take them? Better off terminating these contracts and freeing up space for players who do want to play for this club. I fear Conte will walk right now. I feel I'd walk with him. Enough is enough. It's embarrassing. I sort of feel the same way, John. Like, you envy, or not envy, you feel so much sympathy for Conte if in the situation he's in. I think if he did walk, I would lose slight respect for him, because I think he probably does embrace these challenges and he is willing probably to put himself in the dirt and get himself out of this situation. If he did sort of walk, I'd be ashamed, but I'd understand why he did it, because it just simply is it looks like an insurmountable task, like, especially with also perhaps the case of Daniel Levy and Enoch also to think about too. It probably looks insurmountable, but I feel like he is going to get dirty. He is going to try to figure this out, this World Cup. He's even brought up before how desperate he is to kind of grab this squad, take him over to, I think, some sort of kind of warm, climate location, and really drill into them what he's trying to work on, as well. So I want to think that Conte is still here and that he is still going to keep powering through here. But John, I don't blame you, my man, for a lot of what you said. I don't blame you, but I pray that, you keep the faith, brother.
Comes down to what I said earlier on. Even when these guys were backups, where they're achievable for teams of a lesser ilk than Tottenham to come and get, how comes none of them has ever come in for them? They're not as good as we think they are. That's why.
Henry Sego, Liverpool may get owners from Dubai. Sooner or later, we will be left behind if Enoch don't sell to someone with deeper pockets. There is something about that. It's also, I must say, if that really does truly happen and Jurgen Klopp gets taken over by that, I'd just be fascinating to see how he responds. Foggy Foam, that backline, I had enough of those guys. The goals we conceded this season, majority of stupid errors they do. Dyer and Sanchez, I don't want to see them anymore after January. We have big games coming up next year. Ship these clowns out if Conte loves his job. Dave, I want you to take this one, but I'm also going to kind of use Foggy's sort of comment here. I remember someone calling into Talk Sport the other night, actually. This was after the Liverpool game. And he said that the majority of goals he feels like we've conceded this season are actually not that great of goals or anything. He thinks that most of them, if not all of them, have in definitely some way been a huge individual mistake or a huge individual error in some way contributing to it. And the guy mentioned Lloris, he mentioned Dyer, he mentioned Sanchez, mentioned Emerson, mentioned Sessegnon, and he said that pretty much when you look at it, not really the goals that Spurs have been conceding have all been, like let's say a Thomas Partey goal or something like that, where it's like a screamer or it's a well-worked goal, like a James Maddison one or something like that. They've all in some way been individual mistakes. Would you kind of agree?
Yeah, of course I would. Look, let's take this back. I'm just going to get Tottenham's fixtures here. Give me a minute. I was actually looking at this last night. Let's take it all the way back to the last game of pre-season against Roma. Eric Dyer gave away the ball and compounded that error by being caught out of position. They went and win a corner. Oh, guess what? We concede from another corner kick because we can't get off the ground. You go to the Southampton game. James Ward-Prowse, free shot off the edge of the box. Should never happen. Should always have someone out there closing them down. Chelsea, one goal from a corner kick, and the other goal was because of all of the defence was over on the left-hand side. Look, some people don't blame Ben Davies, but he had two players on him. I blame him. Because a guy at 29, 30 years of age, which Davies is, should be fucking screaming at the other guys to come across and help him. Didn't do it. Again, another basic. Right? Wolves, Forest, clean sheets. West Ham, Hugo Lloris clicks the ball out of play under no pressure. And then from the preceding throw, we're too busy arguing with the referee to concentrate on the goal. The game, a goal against Fulham, Mitrovic, that was a good goal, to be honest. It's hard to knock him off the ball. Held it up, good finish. Then you go into Leicester. The two goals we conceded there, I'm pretty sure I'll find it making someone's fault.
Well, we know the Sanchez penalty.
Yeah, Sanchez penalty. The three goals we conceded against Arsenal. The second one, Hugo Lloris, mistake. And there's a couple of others in there. Goal against Eintracht Frankfurt. Eric Dyer lets the ball roll under his studs. They take the ball. They go up and score. The couple against Man United that we conceded were from shit mistakes. Sporting 2-0 down, switch off, last few minutes to go. One of the goals against Newcastle, Eric Dyer runs off Callum Wilson, leaves him completely free. Again, a guy of 29, 30 years of age can't speak to someone else to pull them in and pick him up if he wants to go back into the middle. It's absolutely brain-dead defending all the way along. The Bournemouth goals, again, like all the goals we've conceded this season, Jack, the majority of them, I'd say, bar maybe 3 or 4, have actually been from individual rookie errors. Every single one of them nearly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I agreed with that caller that night. And I agree with you, Foggy Foam. Reads here, Jack, people who are blaming Conte and not these shit players are an embarrassment. It's not like we've been through multiple managers in 3 years time to wake up. Believe me, I think everybody's entitled to their opinion, Reads, but I'd like to think that people are probably forgetting about some of the things that Conte has already achieved with this club. And also, I feel like we're not really showing him any sort of gratitude for what he did for us last season. I think people have even gone as far to say that Conte's time is immemorable. Like someone I've even heard them say was like immemorable. Like they would kind of be happy, to see him go. Like I just find that, Dave, like when you say it's immemorable, like he saved our season last season. Like he took us from Nuno to Champions League football and took us ahead of Arsenal. Like regardless of what you may think of Arsenal, he took us ahead of it. Like I feel like we have to, even if he left right now, we would have to show some sense of gratitude for that. Have to show. Like that's ridiculous that we would say that that's immemorable or that was somehow easy or I don't know, achievable or whatever. Like they made a freaking documentary about doing it. That's how impressed Spurs were about him getting into top 4. So I think we have to show gratitude, even if you don't want Conte in or if you want him out. Like at least show gratitude for what he did for us last season. At least I think everybody would have to agree with that. Phil P, zero accountability at the club. Players don't get dropped when they play poorly and or drop. Absolute clangers. Managers gets a pass. Director of football signs dog caca C units. And then there's Levy. Keith Birkinshaw had it right. There used to be a football club over there. I think, believe me, I think if you keep signing, if Paratici keeps sticking with it, the more players that we've been bringing in, they've been much better than the dog shit that we have right now, Phil. And even recently, someone like a Basuma is starting to come to his own. It's starting to look like the Basuma that we bought over at Brighton. Again, another brilliant signing by the likes of brought into this team. We know the likes of Romero. Look at Longley. Longley, sadly, this is sad to say. Longley's been our best defender of the season. Very sad to say. Another signing right there. I think you just continue to let Paratici do his work. Problem is, though, is Levy's probably going to not really let Paratici get full reins here. How much, power is he really going to give him? How much money is he really going to give him? All up in the air there, Philip, but zero accountability. Kieran Spiteri, Sanchez is a simple, Sanchez is a simple, not a starting player. Simply not a starting player. He's a good defender. Don't get me wrong, but he's a backup defender. Simple as. I'd rather see Tanganga starting, honestly. Well, Kieran, he's not a backup defender if you would rather see Tanganga starting ahead of him, because that would make Tanganga the backup defender. That would then make Sanchez, what would it be, the third string defender? That's not really a backup defender. It makes him the third string, fourth string, whatever it may be, defender. So I must say, I think you'd rather say that Tanganga is the backup defender and then Sanchez is pretty much useless, because Sanchez is our most expensive defender of all time before Romero. 40, 50 million. And if he's somehow behind the order of Tanganga, that says so much about Sanchez. That just says so much. That doesn't even make him a backup in my books, Dave. That makes him like a third, fourth string. Like, that's actually kind.
Makes him disposable.
If he's behind Tanganga, if people actually think that we should be playing if that's fine, I think we probably should have played Tanganga too ahead of Sanchez. But that says so much about Sanchez. It doesn't really say a whole lot about Conte, if anything, because that means that this guy has gone from being our most expensive ever defender to now being not even backup, like third, fourth string sort of.
But defender. The thing is, here's the thing though, Jack, like, it's the same situation as Jose Nuno with these guys. It doesn't matter who you pick. It does not matter who you pick. Like, we've given Tanganga chances. He's had chances.
Yeah.
He's been crap. He hasn't took them.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like if he picked Tanganga, people would be out here today saying, why didn't he pick Sanchez? He picked Sanchez. He has him there. People are now saying, why doesn't he pick Tanganga? But nobody was calling for Tanganga to play before this game. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. It wasn't so long ago, in fact. Most fans were saying, oh, Sanchez is a lot better than what you say, Dave. He has a part in 7 clean sheets. This, that, and the other. I was like, well, against teams that don't score goals and have problems scoring goals, okay, we'll just gloss over that. But my point is, it's like, it doesn't matter who he picks. Like, we cannot sit here and pretend Tanganga's the answer, because he's not.
No, he's not. Scott Fitzgerald, first half Tottenham is a relegation side and second half Tottenham is a top 4 side. I swear Conte is kicking behinds at halftime, so probably best not sack him. As for Sanchez and Dyer, they should have been moved on long, long ago. Can you imagine clowns like that anywhere near Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, or Liverpool? Man U, maybe, as they pick crap players too. Probably, Scott. He's exactly right, though. Like, and this what's so funny, though, Scott, is I remember last season, people were making a bigger deal about whether Højbjerg was a top 4 midfielder than understanding whether Sanchez or Dyer were top 4 defenders. There was more of an argument to be made about, and more big debates and controversial debates about whether Højbjerg was actually good enough for Spurs than actually focusing on players like Sanchez and Dyer, who had been here for seasons and seasons and seasons on end. I don't know if you remember that, Dave, but I thought that really speaks to it there. Actually, the pass that these guys have gotten is that, if you remember, Dave, there were big debates, thumbnails, etc. made. Is Højbjerg good enough for Spurs? Is he a top 4 midfielder? And it feels like, why aren't we having this debate with Dyer and Sanchez instead of Højbjerg? Like, Højbjerg's the last person we should be having this debate with.
Here's the thing. We were going to do this. Remember when we done a show, we started off with Dele Alli and Harry Winks, and we were going to continue on to other players, but the reception we got from them, like, all we done is went and got the facts, right? We literally went and got the facts. The shit performances and the losses that we've endured with these guys that we should never have endured, how long ago it was they played well and the drop-off, and how long it's been since the drop-off, etc. And all we've seen over them two was repetitive contract after contract after contract. And you're like, for what? For what? And we would have continued on, but the backlash we got from the fans just said, look, it's not even fucking worth it. Like, it's just not worth it. Why go and do all this effort, all this research to try and highlight a problem when people just want to ignore the facts and be nostalgic and go with what they believe? It's kind of like just like, and this is the thing, like, it was all about Højbjerg at the time, blah, 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 blah. Exactly, Jack. You're right. Why don't we do it to Dyer then? Why aren't we seeing it with Sanchez?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. Mark, if I speak, I will have an aneurysm. Dyer, Wayne Bonner, that was not a performance last night. No team can perform with the Bobo twins, Dyer and Sanchez. We've needed quality center backs for years now and done nothing about it. Lenik out, Conte in, back the manager properly for once. Absolutely right, Wayne. Absolutely right. And get the Bobo clowns out. We haven't finished our job when it comes to the Bobo twins. Deontay Manel, Dyer, Sassanone, Sanchez, Emerson must go. Make sure throw Doherty in there too, Deontay. Throw Doherty in there too, and then we can ship them all out. But big up. There it is, though, everybody. And really do appreciate you all getting your comments in here. Really do actually enjoy these shows actually more and more. I think since we've been doing them, I think at first, we were kind of getting used to them, sort of trying to figure our way around it. But I really do enjoy them now. It's a good way to sort of kind of just get your sort of opinions out there. Sometimes it serves as a good pick me up. Sometimes it just serves as a good sort of discussion. And we just get to continue to sort of highlight, the issues around this football club and the issues around the squad, et cetera, and all that good stuff. But everybody, do appreciate you all tuning in. Yeah, Dave.
Just before we end, let's also not forget to highlight that Sanchez was arguing with the referee in injury time when you're down 2-0. Dyer also took upon himself to fuck the ball off the player while he's off the ground and give the referee more reason to delay the restart when you're losing 2-0. Are these guys that really care? Okay. Even if I'll question, do they care about being here? Because if you did, you'd want to get the game restarted very, very quickly. But some people may say they will. Okay, if they will, then where's the intelligence and the know-how, the game management, and in the heat in a moment to say, we need to get this game back on the way quickly instead of throwing balls around, being petulant because we're shit and our mistakes are going to be highlighted again. So where's the football intelligence to know, not to argue, just give them the ball, let them get underway and get this going again? There is none. So even if they are trying, they just don't have the intelligence. So no matter what way you look at it, get out my club.
Exactly right, Davo. Everybody, fan show tomorrow. If you also want to have your say there, if you want to have your say in person, as we know, you don't even have to come on and, show your camera or anything. Just come on, have your say, have a good chat with me. Tomorrow is a fan show. I'm putting the link to grab that membership. There's a fan show membership that you need to grab in order to come on and have your say. We do at least 3 fan shows a week, at least. Sometimes we've gone as far as 4. I'm pretty sure we even did that last week. Might have done 4, but everybody, do grab that membership if you do want to come on and have your say in person. But yeah, I think that's it for us, everybody, for Twitter Reacts. Appreciate you all putting in your comments, putting in your opinions ahead of time. Smash that like button if you haven't already while in here. But
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who continues to get your comments in on the community section and on Twitter. We really appreciate it. This show is all about you, your opinions, getting them in there so that we can have a discussion off them. It seems like you seem to be enjoying them because you are getting your comments in and you are tuning in. So long may this continue. Keep participating. And look, we'll see where this goes. Because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is just do something that Sky Sports, BT Sports, and Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, in fact, all Premier League football clubs have failed to do, which is bring the fans along the journey of the season while giving them a platform to air their voices as well. So thank you very much for using them. Thank you to everybody for tuning in today. I'm still pissed off. I'm still going to go away angry. But look, let's roll on, Leeds. Come on, you Spurs.
In contact with you. Absolutely.